What I really like about, again, the blockchain system is the fact of, starting something that by the time will be fixed. It's like a real system. It's like a secure system, like something, a technology that have to be employed in the different sector of life, health, education, music, and everything else. Yeah, and for me, that's one of the key. I'm so interested about, so this project, because soon that you understand how it works, you can duplicate it in different areas.
So yes, people, welcome to the AfroFinLab. We are back today with our special guest, Moh Dediouf, who was here last week. Go check the episode. We're also here with our expert guest, Virginia, who we found in the Cardano community. We reached out to her because we knew we just had to pair the two of these people together. Virginia, do you want to just tell us a bit about yourself?
Well, hello world. I am Virginia, and I am one of the SPOs on the Cardano blockchain, and I am here mostly for the bigger picture, to have a conversation or continue the conversation about the possibilities, the endless possibilities that people who need the blockchain more to get those information. So I want to thank each and every one of you, and I'm here to also learn.
Amazing, great. And so today we're going to be discussing the advantages and the disadvantages of blockchain technology. So just like going through them, we can reel off a couple. So there's a 0% of fraud, okay? No government interference, instant transactions, improved financial efficiency. That's the advantages. And for the disadvantages, we have extremely volatile. It's somewhat associated with crime. We can go into that. And it's also a problem for the not so tech savvy. Now, for our viewers who still don't know what a blockchain is, I please beg you, go through our previous episodes, but I'll give you just a quick, simple explanation. It's a way for us to record things without having to rely on a record keeper. Simple as that. If anyone wants to chime in, so who wants to expand on the advantages and disadvantages, and maybe we can explore like some of the problems that can be solved using this technology, especially in our guest case, Moh Dediouf in Senegal. What is it we could, he could take back to his community and implement?
If I may.
Yeah.
I also would like to add for people out there to understand what decentralization means to them, right? And what I'm going to do without criticizing any system, just to compare. Now you think about it this way. You have your own money. You walk into a conventional bank with your own money, and they can choose to say yes, or they can choose to say no, right? Depending on whatever criteria is it that the conventional system has created. They have made it, put a narrative out there and tell us who we are, right? From our financial, how we spend money, how much money we make, places that we work. Then you have the decentralized system. First of all, there is no central authority. And I know when we say that, people will look at us like, what do you mean? You look at the blockchain as a bank. Then you look at the pools as branches of the bank. But they are not centralized because nodes are located in multiple places around the world, and they are talking to one another, right? And you think about it also in a way as when you are running for a relay, right? You run and then you hand it to someone else. And then you run, you hand it to someone else. that relay, when it drops that baton, you are done. In this case, the relay passes on from blocks to blocks, it never drops, right?
Okay.
So I want people to understand that when we talk about decentralization with no central authority, no discrimination, meaning Virginia, who's from Senegal, can be part of it, not because you can be part of it. So I want us to also somewhat use layman terms so people can understand what we are talking about, right? I get emails and they say, well, it's because you are in America. Oh, it's because you understand it. No, you do your research. But we are sharing with our voices.
That's exactly the role of this podcast. And I just want to reiterate, Mo, so you're the referee, right? So if we're saying anything here that doesn't make sense, you have...
Yeah. And don't worry about that. I'm here am I. Can you, all people can see this?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, this is 1,000 franc safer. This is for me. I can go out. This is the only things that I know from Senegal that I can exchange with services or products.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I want you people, to tell me, to convince me, like, why would I first? Why? This works for me so far, because that's the only system actually that I know from Dakar. So if you're coming to me and says, first, you are this and this and this, you have to change this, you have to move somewhere else. Just tell me why.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Why I have to. Because this works for me. It's not because I don't understand that. I just want you to start from the point of people when we're talking about centralization or decentralization. Do you know that a lot of people even don't know, that the money, we buy the money, we don't owe the money, African countries especially. So this is the money that we paid for France to have our own money. All these things, we have to, and I mentioned it the last week, I want you guys to think about options. Like, this is my money. I can put it in the bank, or I can put it on Orange Money or wherever, or I can buy a blockchain for that. Which means blockchain became another option. But all of us, we have to think about why I have to go to this new way.
Yo, so I think I got a good response, because I was working on this with my girlfriend.
Thank you.
Shout out if she's in the chat. But okay, so you held up the $1,000 bill, yeah? Right.
Yes.
So think to yourself, how many loaves of bread can that get you today, right? Compared to how many loaves of bread it could have got you maybe 10 years ago. Okay. Now, why would you want cryptocurrency? Because had you bought cryptocurrency 10 years ago, you could buy yourself a whole 10 supermarkets had you spent the same amount.
Okay, that's one answer. So which is this answer from you are based on trust. You are telling me things that are going to happen because in 10 years. So let me tell you, the understanding of people from why 10 years ago I could buy more bread with this comes from the fact of politicians take a decision to de-evaluate the value of 1,000 francs, and the inflations go up and all this stuff. So as people who goes in financial education, we understand all these things. But again, we are here to take people like, okay, it's a good investment and all the stuff, for sure. But I want us to think more deeply, because of course I have some ideas how to says, okay, this, have this, or this and that. I mean, but I think it's really, because most of the time when we talk about money, from my understanding, African people, most of the time, they want to touch the money.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They want to put it on their pocket.
Mm-hmm.
They feel like, close, this is my money. You know, they feel free to use it whenever. Even the trust of banks, you know, because banks are really dedicated to make 1 or 2 or 3% of people, you know, who are workers, who get salaries and all of that. There was a huge system of people who didn't have access to that. And I think the point of not having access in the traditional bank is one of the key points.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
One, because I mean, there was a whole people who are working every day, who can pay their bills, who do only cash transactions, who don't have access to the system where they can get loan to buy, I don't know, a house or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Those
Build a
are
business.
people,
Yeah.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
those are first people who are looking for solutions.
Yeah.
And who gonna be willing to take risks.
Mm-hmm.
One, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of value, so again, I think we have to, I don't want to go all over the place. We have to stuck on the advantage of what are not the advantage of that. So we mentioned the fact that there was no political control. This point of not having political control have to be really explained, you know, very explained, because I mean, it's linked to a trust issue in Africa. When something you have no control, are not controlled by the government, you know, for people, the question is, who guarantee us your things? You know, who guarantee us? That's, I mean, this work. I mean, so this are until now the 2 questions that I have, and maybe need to be developed to really come back with answers. Yeah.
Virginia, you wanna jump in and tackle that? You wanna?
Yes, I would like please to say something. So I will for Jeju, you asked a question. I have the $1,000 CFA, sorry.
Yeah.
1000 francs CFA. I have
Yeah.
the 1000 CFA in my pocket right now. I am touching it. I am using this way, that way. You have something tangible that you know is yours, it's in your pocket. So I want you to think of the digital asset, the currency, the same way, except you have it on your phone, right? But there's a difference. The difference is if the 2 of us, right? I call you and I say, I am going to sell you this pair of shoes. The 2 of us, between the 2 of us, I can send you this money where, depending on the type of fiat that you have, right? How do you, that's another issue that we need to tackle. But what you do have currency that you are able to use. And I want you to think about something, right? Think about just short years ago, how you would have the 1000 francs CFA in your pocket and go by this, go by that. Nowadays, how do most people pay their bills, right? That CFA now is being loaded on a smartphone. And that smartphone is connected to your the phone bill that you have to pay, this that you have to pay. So these are changes that are happening where people are fighting it, but without realizing it. All of a sudden, you are a part of it. Now, one of the things that I don't want most people, like the question that you asked, that 1000 francs CFA that you just showed me, I didn't check how much one ADA is right now. If you had the possibility of going and purchasing one ADA, right? The 1000 francs CFA, I believe you can have about 20.
Okay.
Now think about how, and nothing is guaranteed in life, right? We all know that. But think about that 1000 francs CFA. that you purchased the ADA with, and that ADA turned to the, in a year, 10,000 francs CFA. So that's how I want people to think of it when it comes to the currency. Now, then we talk about the blockchain itself. What does it do, right? I saw the liquid, Sidney, I saw your proposal.
Oh, that was, yeah.
It is an amazing proposal that cuts the middleman. The middleman that is taking 30% of what people work for. The middleman that has not brought any value to your life, except I'll give you an example, because I like to give examples. Let's say you have your home, right? Jeju, you have your home, you built it, you lived in it, you took care of it for 20 years. Then you get up one day and then you say, I want to sell it. Then you hire me, Virginia, and you say, Virginia, I want you to sell it for me. I walk down the street, I find a buyer, and I get 30% of your profit. You see, it's capitalism. We can all still be in the system that we have right now, right? But it is also important. And I love the questions that you are asking, because it's important for people to understand the alternative option before they get into it. I totally understand it. And I appreciate the questions that you are asking. I really do.
Yeah, but I mean, sorry guys to tell you, I mean, maybe maybe I should let others give their answers to before to say my feedback, because I mean, from outside point of view, none of your answers disconvince me. Okay. And I would say is why, because I mean, you keep on using technical words, I mean, with people who are like, okay, like you find me in my house, I'm good. I say I'm good. I'm good. I'm good with this. I mean, and you can bring me a solution and says, you're not good. You think you're good, but you're not good. You know, try the other one. I mean, me, I want us to work on the fact of, oh, you're good. You can be better. You can be much better. How? Okay. First, exactly, as you said, this is nothing in terms of value. For people to buy 20 ADA with that, there was really not a risk. It's thousands, you know. And this is a good point. The fact of this is not really, we are not asking you to invest millions. You know, it's just like, just try, man. This you will buy, I don't know, a beer or a lemonade with this, and after 2 hours, you forget about that. Just put it here, you know, and forget about it, and we'll see in 1 year how it grows. One of your answers that you gave to me, I mean, shows me again that, I mean, when I was talking about the Murid community, they got cash. They got a lot of cash, and this cash comes from the community. So they use the cash to buy product or to put it on the bank or wherever. You know, they want to use this cash for one great, one biggest event who's happening every day with the Michael Tuba. They want to buy products. If we come and say, okay, I mean, we have a system where from this Magal until the next one, the money that you have, instead of putting it in the bank and it benefits you this and this and that, which is maybe not reflected what you really trust in your culture or society, like the interest, you know, we give you another options of this money that you have can help other people, you know, to work and finance other projects. But when you need it, you can take it back. You know, so which is mean, I mean, so again, as I said, we don't need to convince the whole community. There, you have to convince one guy, which is the check. If you say invest on that, then people even won't argue or try to understand what it is, why, you know? They would do. So, so again, and I'm sure in Nigeria or in Ghana, or there was a lot of different community like this, for sure. You know?
Yeah. So I want to get Josh's feedback on this. Like Joshua, like when you're explaining it to people in Nigeria who haven't heard anything about cryptocurrency, what is it you typically lead with? You know, comparing it to the fiat currency that they use. Because all right, let me expand. Because I feel like the issue is that in terms of the economics, like the boogeyman isn't seen. You know, it's something that's just happening in the background, and people don't even question what the banks are doing with their money or how it's being invested. All they care about is whether they're getting an interest at the end of the year, which currently they're not, right? So when I'm talking to my friends and family, what I do is I'm like, look, you can put your money in this, and you know, remember how I invested like 4 or 5 years ago and I made a ton of money? You could do the same thing as well. But you see, when I do that, they've set up the game in a way where it's like I'm starting to encroach on financial advising territory. So you can't you know, promise people, you know, the world and be like, oh yeah, you're gonna get rich off of this. That's not the case. So let's take that out of the box. Okay, one thing we know about with Cardano is you can stake and you can earn interest on your stake. Okay, now that is guaranteed. What is not guaranteed is how much that stake is going to be worth at the end of the year. But what we can guarantee you is the more people that stake, which is what's happening. Like a lot of people who own Cardano naturally stake, and the more people that build second layer applications on top of this, you can see that the economics of it, like just the maths of it, the token value will increase, and you can see examples of that with previous currencies. Now, like this is a leap of faith, clearly, right? But I keep pushing this point, and I love this example, right? In the US, the black consumer spends 1.2 trillion per annum, right? The black consumer, and that's not even taking into account like Africa, just America alone, 1.2 trillion per annum. If they were to take 1% of their yearly salary, like literally 1% of that, and the average yearly salary in America is something like, I think it was 40,000 or 30,000 or something. It might be less now due to all the unemployment. But what I'm trying to say is if they took 1% of that and they were to invest in it by June the 3rd, 2020, which would be the 100-year anniversary of the Tulsa massacre, which took place in America, like they would essentially own 1/3 of the cryptocurrency market. And that cryptocurrency, those cryptocurrency rails will create the financial future for the 21st century. So it's like a huge risk opportunity play here. And you know, you don't have to put that much to be part of this transition. I know that's a loaded explanation, but Joshua, do you want to pick up on what you say to people?
Yeah, I mean, you were getting so technical about it as well, though. Yeah. I was like, what? Yeah. I mean, there are things that we need to actually accept and align our ideas with. Like, first of all, we know that ideas rule the world, but then incentives drive those ideas, right? In Nigeria, like, you know, as you know, Tash has already introduced, I teach people. I wouldn't say I'm an expert, but I talk to people, everyday people. My friends are everyday people, right? I talk to them about blockchain, and one thing that, you know, keeps coming up is, what do I have to gain from this? You know, like, why should I leave why should I leave my regular, you know, conventional banking way of holding my money to a blockchain system? What are the incentives, right? And you find out that you start, like Tash said, you start talking like a financial advisor, right? And you start getting technical about it to drive it. That is because we originally, and this is a fact, we don't have financial education in Africa. Like, we don't grow up with that. And that is where the problem is, right? I didn't grow up to know what money was, you see. So now my first introduction to understanding what money is through cryptocurrency. And I've been using money all my life. Do you understand? So for you to actually start convincing the everyday person, we need to start setting that foundation for them to understand what money is, first of all, before we can now introduce what better money is to them. So I find out that when I start talking to people about cryptocurrency, I have to go back to the history of money and to the history of our own money and what it'll look like if they are holding better money.
That's a very good point. And you even can ask, and you even can push even far to ask them where this money are printed.
Or how much can be printed.
Yeah, but I mean, it's printed,
exactly.
But most of, I mean, it just recently that African discovered that this is printed in France.
Absolutely.
Okay, and it's owned by France. The reason why I'm saying that is like there was a gap of emotions and proudness that we all can use to say is, I mean, we can have our own. But again, I mean, there was a very good point of teaching people what is the money. Because I mean, people just trust that, I mean, this money belongs to our government, and they trust for centuries that the government are the ones who are printing it. The understanding of like the world system depend on the dollar, they just see it on TV. But like, it doesn't affect their life. People, they know they get like 10K at the end of the month, they see how to survive on that.
Yeah.
You know? So, I mean, those are the starting points of some of that. And again, like, if we mention investment, like we said about Black people and how much they should invest. We can look at in the same time, like the money transfer happening between the diaspora, you know, and the local people. Because it's a whole system where you give your money to someone who says your people at home will get the same amount, but you pay me your fees. And it works because it's guaranteed by the government. So I'm putting those points because I mean, if we have to switch on that, we have to bring something, I mean, that people trust it, you know. And I believe that it's not only the Murid community who exists. There was a similar community, you know, that who already trusts a system, you know, and we can join the system to really say it's like, okay, we use the system to adapt so the blockchain and that.
I think Virginia had something to say. What did you want?
Yeah. I also think that there is something that we are not realizing. Since the day of time, since we've been the world, we've known one conventional system. Therefore, even you, Jeju, when you say, for example, we trust, do you really trust? It's what you know. It's what has been embedded into us. Therefore, because we move forward with the system and we get used to it, we think that's something that we trust. But look at it, what history has proven, right? When it comes, every nation state has devalued their currency, right? And what do? We just say, it's part of life. Look at inflation. We look left and right, we said, what just happened? We accept it, it's part of life. And that is why it is important for this mindset to be not changed, but to be open to receiving another system. Not that you have to do it, but just know that you have the option, that it is there. And if I may add a little bit, you know, you get the 1000 francs CFA, right? And say it's nothing, it's everything, because I'll tell you why. When I first got into crypto in 2012, it was Bitcoin. You know how much it was worth one? $5. Today, it is over $11,000. So it is the cryptocurrency is an asset. It is an asset just the same as the real estate asset, right? Let me give you another example. I've been living in my home, bought it 12 years ago, about 13, 14 years ago. Everything is great, but guess what? You know, since then and today, it appreciated 5%. 5%, because in the middle of purchasing your home, working hard, you have inept, greedy politicians who would, with one word, one move, everything, it becomes a bubble. Who suffers? Us. You know what I mean? And that hurts badly. And that is why, Jeju, I am not saying, I love your questions, and I'm not saying do it today, but think about the system that we have today. I don't believe that people are on the street right now, sadly, killing each other because they hate each other. It's because their dignity have been taken away. It's because their hard work have been taken away, right? You have one person who will say, make one sentence, and the whole conventional market is turned upside down. Unfair.
Okay.
We are the ones who are hurting.
Guy.
Who are hurting. We work hard.
Okay, Guy. Sorry to cut it off and come back. I mean, I understand all this emotional things we're talking about. That's true and all the stuff. Okay, but again, one of the reasons I love and trust these things is because it's here to bring solutions and not complain about problems.
Yes.
That's one thing, you know.
Yes.
Second, we're not here to fight against any system because we still are part of the system.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
and all these things that we're talking about, it depends on the audience that we have. Actually, we are almost focused on African normal audience. What I mean by normal is like a basic audience, someone who didn't go to school, who are like just normal, you know, like a guy who's selling cakes on the street, you know, because of course, soon that we move to a middle class or a higher class, the speech are different. They have enough saving money to actually want to invest. Of course, my words, my speech will be different.
Yeah.
If I speak to a soccer player like Sadio Mane, you know, I wasn't gonna tell him this. I would tell him, dude, you got money. You are investing in this. Come and invest on these things. You have nothing to lose. So that's it. You know, you have nothing to lose. It might be the next. It might bring you like more money that you have, or use this maybe to help education for this and this. So you know, we understand that. I mean, based on to who you're addressing the message. So the speech are totally different.
Yeah.
So
you know,
I want to know. So if we were to address someone high up in the Marid community, you know, the people with cash who would want to be able to use this cash to invest it into projects and whatnot, what is it we could put together on Cardano that would function for them how they wanted it to? You know, there's a lot
for them. Build a stake pool for them, for the Marid community, and let the people with money invest in that stake pool, and then ask them what's up.
yeah, that's good. That's good way, and then definitely. So the thing is like, historically and generally, Marid community wanted to have their own freedom. Since while they are in Senegal, but they didn't depend on the government on anything. They build their own road, their own hospital. Even if the government will let them, there would be a state inside. And they're fighting every day for that. The last smuggle who happened, they was battling with water. But since 5 years, they are fighting to find company who can extract their own water. You know, this is the mindset. So which is mean if they go far, if there was someone who give them options, I mean, to have another way of financing their own activities, they wouldn't say no. We just have to understand that, I mean, they don't care about Cardano. They care about their own community and what make them growing and get them more freedom.
I think that's an important point. I just want to jump in here real quick because we're talking about, so number one, Cardano is not a currency. Cardano is a token. It's a utility that's used to have access to the Cardano system. And on that Cardano system, you can build things, you know. So just like we're using our computer right now to see each other on Zoom and to talk and hear each other, that's built on top of your computer system. For some people, it might be Windows. For other people, it might be Mac. For some people, it might be their cell phone. So people can build things on top of those systems that allow us to solve problems. The problem that we're solving right now is that all of us are in different locations and we want to do a webinar and want to teach people about Cardano. So the only way that we can do that is to use their system so that it allows us to talk back and forth with each other.
Exactly.
So what Cardano does is Cardano is very similar in that you can build things on top of it. Specifically, you can build financial instruments that are trusted financial instruments on top of the system, which is a lot different than building on Windows because you can't build trusted financial systems on top of Windows. You can interact with a bank or some other trusted financial system, but you can't build a financial system on top of Windows. But with Cardano, you can build a financial system on top of it that's trusted, that doesn't need to interact with another bank necessarily, but it allows you to basically solve whatever problems that you want to solve. So we had this conversation last week, Mo. Like the biggest thing to me is like, what is your problem? You know, all of us, you know, and all of us, we have, I won't call them necessarily problems. I think we see the opportunity in the future that this is where the future is going. It just is what it is. So very long time ago, there was the barter system, right? The barter system wasn't very liquid. People would, you know, exchange, and I don't know, chickens for cows or fruit or whatever it might be. And that type of system couldn't support an advanced society. Right. So you couldn't grow a society on a barter system, you know, because it's illiquid. You know, when you need to be able to buy something, you need to have that money to be able to buy it. But if you exchanged you know, a chicken for you know, something else, you know, that's not going to give you what you need so that you can purchase something in the future. So money is always the ability to purchase something that you want in the future. It holds its value so that you can purchase it. You don't, when you do that exchange, you don't have to purchase right then and there. You can hold it, it holds its value, and then when you need something, you can take that money and you can go purchase it. And that's a function, that's something that happens for in an advanced society, to be able to have money so that you can purchase something. And so Cardano allows us to build that. And then it also is, I know we talked about an investment opportunity, which it is. It's, you know, and this is not investment advice, although this is something that I learned, is that in order to do well for yourself, in order to make more money, which making more money is important in my opinion, you know, because it gives you the freedom to realize your dreams or to extend your dreams, you know. So having a society that uses money is a very valuable thing because it allows you more freedom and flexibility to create your future. So
but sorry to cut you on this point, but I mean, by saying that, do you realize like that the same claiming opinion that we have against the system who making more money. We are saying to people, come with us and make more money. Who are we going to use?
So the thing about it, I don't think we're saying, so the system is going to be the system. I mean, that exactly. To me, like when we're talking about systems, that's a whole other conversation when we're talking about who governs us and what rules they're using to govern us. Because in most advanced societies, they claim to have a democracy, but it doesn't function as a democracy because every voice really doesn't count. You know what I mean? Or you have your vote, but it doesn't seem like the things that you want are being reflected in society. So what you want is not getting up to the people that are governing us. And that's a whole different thing about how they're managing their system to make sure that, you know, they stay in power and they can do the things that they want to do. But here, it's you know, so you have, like, for your community, you can build based on how your community functions. You would have to identify what's most important to your community, how it functions, how it views money, what value money has to your community, and then on top of Cardano, you can build something that will reflect that so that it works in your community, the way that you guys work, you know, the way that things work for you, which might be different in my community, which might be different in Josh's, you know, different in Virginia's, you know, different in Tashoma's. So we have the ability to create that now. It's a creative endeavor. You know, we get to figure out what we need to do for our communities, and then we can build that out, and this system supports that. As far as the investment part of it goes, and again, this is not investment advice, as far as like doing better or creating wealth for yourself and your family, the thing that you do that's always been successful in creating wealth for yourself and your family is to get in front of a wave. You know, it's to understand what's coming in the future and to get in front of it. And people get in front of that wave in many, many different ways. You know, like maybe in Nigeria, the people who now offer services where you can use your mobile credits as money, they got in front of the wave. They saw the cell phones were coming. They saw that people were using cell phone minutes as for value. And then like, oh, okay, we can get in front of this wave and we can kind of capitalize on that. You know, the people who knew about, you know, Facebook or Twitter or any of these other companies that are out there, they knew what was coming, so they got in front of the wave. So if they got in front of, if they knew what was coming and they invested in that early on and they got in front of that wave, when that wave went up, they went up with it. Same with Bitcoin. You know, people early on, they saw, hey, this is like solving a real problem with digital money, and it seems like it makes sense. And it seems like it's going to continue on. So there were people who got in front of that wave. And then when Bitcoin went up, that went up with it. And I think what we're saying here with Cardano, that's what's happening here as well, is that there's a wave that's coming where we're building these financial products or, you know, or different monetary systems, or, you know, ways that money acts. We're disrupting the money system. And if you get in front of that, you get to, you know, once it's lifted up, you get to be lifted up with it.
Absolutely.
I feel like so many times, like, the people actually are waiting for a validation from the government for them to take advantage of a wave like this. This is actually one of the first time that we are actually ahead of the curve before the government. And that is very important because...
Yeah, Josh, I was going to say, just to your point, we couldn't participate in the wave before. We couldn't do it, because I know, like, here in this country, if you want to invest in a company, you have to have a specific designation. You have to be designated as an investor. And then those investors come in and they get those companies for pennies on the dollar. But as soon as that company hits the stock exchange, that's when we get to buy it. Yeah. They bought it for pennies. We have to pay hundreds of dollars. So we never could participate before. So this technology is democratizing finance. So we don't have to have those designations anymore. If we see a project that we like, we can go ahead and get in.
Yeah, and you know, it feels weird because it's the first time that we're having like a permissionless system where we don't have to get permission from anybody to take advantage of it. We've never had this before.
Right.
So people are they're finding it really hard to actually adjust to this revolution. And just to speak directly to you, Mo, I've said this before on this channel. I said 400 years ago, we had a different understanding of what chains were, right? So the chain that was introduced to us were actually chains that actually binded us and were taken into slavery, right? 400 years later, we have a different kind of chain that is actually freeing us off from the impact of slavery. So you need to understand what that actually means to us as Africans. This is the first time we don't need permission to make the change that we need.
Absolutely.
You understand? And it goes beyond just currency. Currency is just the first application of what blockchain is, right? To some people, this currency might not move them, but if you tell them, hey, this is the first time that the government is going to be accountable and you can trace what happens to the natural resources, boom, you have their attention. But if you limit it to just currency and money, some people might not be moved by money. Do you understand? So if you just put it in just, the money circle, you might not get as much people, involved in this revolution as much as if you like expand it and tell them, hey, you can apply it to healthcare, you can apply it to education, you can apply it to every other sector of government, right? So it's not limited to money, and don't just look at it from the incentive point of view, because you miss the whole point. It is revolutionizing every aspect of our lives as human.
Absolutely.
That is the blockchain technology.
Okay, so again, I think the last conversation we had, the last Sunday, we agree on that. I mean, there was a system of blockchain works for health or music or culture or even the landscape. This is very true. Again, if the subject is what are the different areas where we can apply, blockchain, we can talk about that. But actually, we were talking about what are the advantages and the disadvantages, and we was arguing about that. So I want you guys really focus on that. I mean, this question that I'm having are the questions like that regular people are asking me.
So we have a guest question here from someone in our chat room, from Amadou So. He says, how would you explain to a regular African businessman who barely went to school why crypto is a better option than the bill he has in his pocket? Virginia.
So yeah. Oh no, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Virginia. Go ahead, jump in.
So I want to ask, he asked the question, or she. You think about, as a businessman in Africa, right? What are some of the options that he has, or what are some of the things that he has been doing within the conventional system, right? Then he needs to think about what are the solutions that he's facing that the issues that he's facing right now, solutions can be met on the blockchain.
So what kind of problems is the African businessman who barely went to school facing currently that would maybe push him to look towards crypto? I
would like to know that, but I want to give an example about why I also think not answer Amadou So's question, but I wanted you to think about this, right? Think about how us in Africa, just for our digital imprint, right? We don't have it around the world. Because I'll give you an example, and I'm going to be personal. Just 2 years ago, I said to myself, you know what? I need to get my Senegalese passport again, right? I'm in the US. So in order for me, and this was just 2 years ago. So in order for me to get my Senegalese passport again, as a Senegalese, I had to go to where I was born, which is in St. Louis, Senegal, and get a birth certificate. That birth certificate expires within 1 year. Now, once I did that, I had to, first I was here, so I had to ask my father to go do so. Now you get that you are in the US. right? You have to go to New York to get your passport. And once you get to New York, they have to ask you about mise à jour, all the nonsense that people should not be going through. So one thing I think that the blockchain is important for Africa. It is important for each and every African to have a digital imprint. Your birth certificate, your school. It doesn't matter whether you went to the conventional school or you went to an Arabic school, it is important. So in order to, but anyway, to answer Amadou Sow, I need to understand what are some of the issues that he's facing as a businessman. Because I can tell you, sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Because I can tell you as a businessman, no matter where you are, once you are on the blockchain, you are reaching the global world. You just are, right? You are doing business with them directly.
I think we probably could pull a use case together, you know, to kind of answer Amadou Sow's question. What I will say,
it's actually Khadija, sir. Yeah, she's in the chat right now.
Oh, okay. Right. Okay, Khadijah's question. But what I will say, and most businesses kind of face the same problems, you know. But what blockchain will provide is, without a doubt, and I wrote these down. Number one, more efficient movement of capital. You know. Number two, more access to capital. Because if you're a business, how do you get money? You can go to the bank, you can get a loan, maybe you can get a venture capital firm to give you some money. Maybe you can go to friends and family to get some money. Those are typically the ways that you go get money now if you have a business and you need to capitalize your business. But on the blockchain, there are a lot more ways that you'll be able to get money. So without even going to those folks, you know, other people can invest in your business. You're going to get lower interest rates, you know, than you're going to get through a traditional institution. I mean, these are specifically business to answer business questions, because these are the things that you would need for business. And then the other thing is more creative finance options, so that if I go get that loan for the business, that I can actually put that loan somewhere. In blockchain, we call it a wallet. And while it's sitting in that wallet, it could actually be making money for me. And then when I need that money in order to capitalize something in my business, I can draw down that money to go ahead and purchase whatever it is that I want to purchase. So
you see, for me, the reason why I participate to this webinar is always to add into of what you're saying, this category of people that you're saying. I mean, I guess what Khadija was trying to say by, businessmen in Africa, they don't go to the bank. They don't give their money to the bank, not at all. they keep their cash at home, you know. Yeah. They have, and again, the Murid community does that, you know.
So Mo, let me ask you this: when you're keeping your cash at home, is it growing for you? Or like if you have 1,000, you know, today, will it be 1,000 tomorrow?
No,
if you're
man.
keeping it at home.
Okay, just let me explain. I mean, me, I'm not the one. I mean, I can answer to you, but I mean, I have to explain where it comes from. It comes from the fact of trusting issues, and the fact of, I mean, even if they put their money in the bank, it shows like to the government that they have to pay taxes. That, I mean, you have to identify yourself. You being in the control. And it come back to when I was saying it's a community who always want to be free. Okay, so it have nothing to do with, I mean, how much value I want to have later or no. It have to do with the fact of trusting issues. You know.
People. But Mo,
yeah.
This is, they are not. The money is with them. If you have crypto, you are your bank. You're holding your money, and this is the first time where your money doesn't magically depreciate in value. So it's not an inflationary currency.
I know, but the answer to you, the depreciations.
We lost your volume, Mo.
Yeah.
You're muted.
Have to learn.
Okay, there we go. There we go.
Of money. What is the money? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, you put a very good point when you say that, I mean, African or most of people, even out of Africa, they don't know what money is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all the implications of money, like this notes, this is not money.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I mean, maybe we can help them more understanding that, and by teaching that, you introduce all these things, like, I mean, the same way, like the value of your land, you know, I mean, most of the time increase because you keep it for yourself, or you keep it in the system that works. It can be the same things. I mean, someone mentioned the fact of that she invests, I mean, 2 years before, I mean, 10 francs of CFA, and 5 years, he gained that. But I mean, there's people who did lose money also on that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we cannot only say, I mean, you and promise things. The reason why we are saying all these things is not to undermining, I mean, all the complexity of money. I'm not saying that, I mean, blockchain is currency and all that stuff. I'm finding answers to a community that we can use to apply the blockchain, and I'm thinking what they care about.
Yeah.
What works for them. So that's it. Yeah. Again, if I have to address, if I go to a minute, I don't know. For example, in politics, for me, or I mean, all the new leaders claim the anti-corruption of things. Blockchain is one of the key point of that. You know, against corruption. So that's for sure. And those are arguments. I mean, certain people are very sensible about that. I mean, the land issues in Africa, people always are facing on that. You know? And this is one of the answers. But again, if we talk to each other, that's easy to understand, man. But I mean, the reason why I'm staying down is like I'm trying to be in the same position like someone who is here, like, man, you come in here with your this and that. Me, I'm cool.
Yeah.
The inflation that you're saying and all the stuff, they even done. They address that to the government. They say it's because we have the wrong government. They even don't understand that, I mean, the inflation comes from far away from that. The fact of you didn't farm your own product. You import product that you produce for yourself and all the stuff. But I mean, most of the time, the leaders say all these things, but they didn't bring any solutions. And we bring solutions.
And there's no accountability for it.
Yeah, which is mean after I said people who protest against a land and saying this is not normal, all the stuff, I say, okay, guys, we got solutions here for you. They don't say how.
Mo, I think I see where you're going, and I see what you're doing, and I think that's probably the most important thing, because every last one of us here, once we got into, and I would be willing to bet, once we got into crypto, one of the first things that we did is we went and tried to figure out what money was and why crypto was so important. And I agree with you that, like, and you know, unfortunately, you can't participate in crypto without the technical part of it. It's technical.
Exactly.
You can't, you know.
No.
And I do agree with you that we have to figure out a way to break it down so it's not technical that way, or people can get how it relates to their lives specifically, because that's exactly what happened to me. You know, it's like after I got into it, I'm like, okay, because I didn't know what money was. All I know is that, like, you have it in your pocket and you take it to somebody, you give it to somebody, and then they give you some stuff. Yeah. You know, that's what money was. And then I started to, I started to look into it. But I see what you're saying. You know, it's like,
because I mean, if we portray the role of the actual money is doing is like, I mean, giving you opportunity to exchange a service or a product. It's all about that. So I mean, and you're saying you could get the same service or product without having a bank or an institution who taking you loan.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I mean, then they will say, but I mean, how come? Because I mean, when you were saying about, when you was talking about, I mean, the computers actually, for example, I'm here in Dakar. In every kind of second, my communication with you can be cut because of electricity.
So, guys, you Mo, I think you kind of got your answer in a sense. You understand the advantages and disadvantages of blockchain.
Yeah.
But we were just about to talk about the disadvantages now when you touched on the electricity being cut out. And I think that would be a really interesting topic to unpack for our next episode, as to the ways that Cardano specifically is addressing these problems, you know? What if you have an electricity outage or internet outage, all of these things. So, guys, wrapping it up, that was a wicked episode, man. I feel like we really dug deep, man. So, thanks for everyone. I want you to, obviously, like, if you see this on YouTube, I'd love for you to go to our website and register, like, subscribe, share with your friends, be part of the decentralized movement, and keep the conversation going. Thank you.